Buenas tardes, good afternoon. Bienvenidos a ¿Qué pasa mujer? Welcome to ¿Qué pasa mujer? Estamos aquí todos los domingos a las 4 de la tarde. We're here every Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We are on year 3, if I'm not mistaken. So we want to say thank you to our producer, Mark, and also to Pot TV. ¿Qué pasa mujer? Is just a platform where we get to talk about anything and everything that we want to. So today we have a very special guest, and we're going to talk about a very important topic. And we're just going to go ahead and get started because we have lots to talk about today, Mark. So you could go ahead and bring our special guest, Randi Keesee, if I'm not mistaken. Is that how you say it, Randi?
That is.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for being here, Randi. I always value people's Sundays and their hours because they're so valuable because tomorrow we have to show up to work. So I thank you in advance for accepting the invitation to be on our show. ¿Qué pasa mujer? Is a place where we have brought everybody. It's not just for women. It's not just for Latino women. We've brought men, women of just different races. So it's just a place to educate our folks, our audience members, and to educate ourselves as well as we talk. And so, again, I just want to say thank you. The first question that I have for you is, so you're from Kansas?
No, from Nebraska / Iowa. Yeah.
Okay. What
And let
brought
me
you
tell you,
to where you
Viviana,
live now?
I was going to tell you, Viviana, also, I am always thrilled to get asked to come on and speak, especially what we're going to talk about today. So I will give up any Sunday, any Saturday, any nighttime to talk about it because it's something that I'm very passionate and always very excited about.
Yes.
But no, so I am originally actually from kind of a long round circle. I was actually born in Norfolk, Virginia. My dad was in the Marines, and then we ended up being stationed out in Nebraska. Basically, that's what I call home because that's where I went to school, went to college in Nebraska. And then my parents moved across the river into Iowa, which is like a 25-minute drive across the river. So I'm a Nebraska, Iowa girl. I'm a Midwest girl. And so now I live here in Suffolk, Virginia, and work up in Newport News.
Okay. And do you love it here? Do you want to retire somewhere else? Like, what is your retirement looking like?
I do absolutely love it here. I think what I love the greatest about where we're at is the diversity, to be honest with you, is because I have multiracial children, and I think this environment is incredibly warm for them to grow up in and have in their surroundings. But to retire, no, I do not want to retire here. As much as I love Virginia, I may stay in Virginia, but I am a small town girl by heart. I grew up in a small town of 700 people, and I want to get back into that kind of life of small town, small country feel. That would be ideal for me. I want land. I want farm animals.
I'm coming to
That's
visit.
that's how I picture my retirement. Now, ask my husband if that's how he pictures his. Probably not the same.
Okay, I'm definitely coming to visit because I love that part-time. I don't think that I could do it full-time, but I love it part-time. So
I just want
expect me for
I,
like 3 or 4 days.
I just want the peace. There's something so incredibly peaceful about fresh air and sun and land and nature. There's just something so incredibly peaceful about it. And that's, when you grow up in a small town, you absolutely hate it because you're so restricted we live so secluded in this small little town. But then in hindsight, when you look back, you're like, I really miss that easy, simple, no traffic light kind of life. So that's
Yeah.
my ideal.
Yeah, I think that lifestyle gives you more moments to just be at peace and just be still and like really enjoy the moment at
Yeah.
times versus
Rush,
the
rush, 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 go, 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 go.
yeah, the lifestyle
Yeah.
that we live now, we have to like intentionally find moments like that. So
Yes.
yes, that's awesome. So I cheated a little bit and I did a little homework on you a little bit. I was
Oh, okay.
looking at a video. So
I was
my
gonna say, never believe anything on the internet. I don't know where you
so
researched
my
it.
next question is, are you aging?
Oh, of course, we're all aging. That is the key to everything. If we're not aging, Viviana, what's the opposite?
Yes.
We
So I
essentially.
love it, right? So my mom, so I'm 47. and talk about multi-generational, right? So I have a son, he's 15. I have a son that's 21. I'm 47. My mom is in her late 60s because she's watching, and I can't say her exact age. Grandmother is 89. She will be 90 in November. So I love the generation that I currently live. I love the agency that you work for, which is Peninsula Agency on Aging. We're going to talk a little bit about what they do. But I think to, like, it's like you're living your passion. Like, for example, I work a lot with young people. And so that is my passion at the moment. And I always say I love children and I love the elderly. Everyone in between, which is the people my age, not so much. But I love the little people and I love the older people. So probably about 3 years ago, I had a meeting in the community, and we had a couple of older Hispanic women in their 80s. And my grandmother was one of them, and then another lady that actually just passed away like 2 months ago. And they cried. Well, the one lady, she cried saying, I'm home and I live with my son and my daughter-in-law, but I'm really alone.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just heartbreaking to me. So that's when we started to do a monthly group for the elderly, so they can kind of get together and just do something out of their normal life. And when she before she died, she was just explaining to us that if it wasn't for that group, she would have just fallen into depression, or it just kind of brought her life back. And we were, before the show started, we started talking a little bit about as we age, because we're all aging, you got to make the best of it, right? And like you always talk about how people can thrive in their aging. So can you talk a little bit about that? How can we look forward to it and not hate it that it's coming?
Well, I'm going to reverse on you really fast because I love that you are currently living in a multi-generational home. I'm going to give you a little backstory to myself of growing up in a multi-generational home. So I actually was adopted into a family when I was 5. And in that family was a great grandmother, a grandmother, and then my guardian mother. Both the great grandmother and grandmother were first line immigrants directly from Latvia, escaping World War II.
Mm.
And so they did not speak English. It was multi generational. So I got to actually see, as I was growing up from a very young age, what aging looked like, and especially what
Mm.
aging looked like for people who didn't speak English, and how to navigate that. So my guardian mother was essentially their caregiver and navigated a lot of that. And then fast forward into they I was probably in ninth, 10th grade time frame. My grandmother had started to develop dementia, and my mom could no longer care for her. It just got really difficult. So she had to make that decision to put her into a community that would help her with that. So then I got exposed to nursing home community living and dementia at the same time, and watching that process keep going forward. I then in college actually used to volunteer on Fridays for Meals on Wheels delivery every Friday. Loved it. My senior year, I had to do a senior thesis project, which was based on an individual named Beverly who had dementia. I became friends with her, and it was about communication and about storytelling, and learning about her story. And then, fast forward, moved here from Nebraska, moved here. And then this job came about, and I had applied for a certain position. They decided no longer that they were going to fulfill that position, asked if they could keep my resume on file. And I said, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Not thinking anything of it. And so then a year later, when I actually happened to be going through a divorce and trying to figure out how I was going to land on my feet raising 3 kids, they called me. Peninsula Agency on Aging called me and said, "Hey, we have this great position. We'd love to interview for it." Came in, interviewed for it. Within 30 minutes of leaving, they called me and said, "We really want to offer you the job." And so everything in my life just became full circle at that moment. And so that's why, if you ever hear me talk about older adults and about aging and about advocating and all of that, is because it literally has been in me even if I wasn't born into it, it has been ingrained in me since I was 5. And if we're talking about age, that was 41 years ago. So I love what I get to do and who I get to share it with and who I get to talk to. So thank you for having me on. Needless to say, you can tell how excited I am through this.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Peninsula Agency on Aging. Like, what do they do? What are their objectives? What are they? Who are they?
Yeah, so Peninsula Agency on Aging is a area agency on aging that serves older adults that we consider 60 plus. And we'll talk about that, about the age wise here in a second, but 60 plus, with programs and services to keep older adults in their home for as long as possible. So if you think about my situation of my mother, who, she was a caregiver, she needed services to be put in place to help her care for her mother. And so that's the whole goal. We want to make sure that someone has programs, services, health, supports, whatever that looks like, to age in place, and especially independent and with dignity, because that's what people really deserve, is to be able to age in place with dignity. And so we've been on the peninsula. We serve the peninsula, which is Newport News, Hampton, York, Poquoson, James City County, and Williamsburg. We've been serving that for 51 years now. So as a
Mm.
nonprofit, we serve anybody in those 6 jurisdictions. What's great about area agencies on aging here in Virginia, because I know the show also will air across the country or wherever,
Yes.
is there are 25 area agencies on aging in the state of Virginia, but there are 620 plus across the entire United States. And why that's so important to know is that it doesn't matter, Viviana, if your mom lived in, let's say, North Carolina, and you needed to get supports and service for her in North Carolina. You can call the AAA down in North Carolina where she lives and get her some help and support. You don't have to live there. And so, because families are often right now so divided and living apart, it's really easy for all of us to stay connected through that local area agency on
Hmm.
aging. So I've used it for my family back home in Iowa. And so I always want to encourage people that, if you have somebody that needs the support, just make that phone call.
Perfect. Yeah. And I love that, because so I've been in Virginia for about 20 something years. I don't know if I ever told you this, but when I first moved here, I had trouble finding a job. So because I couldn't find a job, I just started volunteering, and I volunteered at Peninsula Agency on Aging. I was
Oh,
a
I didn't know that.
driver. Yeah, I was a driver. I would pick up the people, take them to their doctor's appointments. So my job was to just pick them up from home, take them to the doctor's appointments, and then run my errands, and then pick them back up, take them back home. But I would actually go and sit with them while
Oh,
they
wonderful.
waited, because I love to talk to older people. I think the wisdom that they have, and now as I've gotten older, I was sitting there for me, because I was getting their wisdom. But I know today that I'm sure I was feeding them as well, because
It's a full
who
circle.
knows?
Yeah.
Yes, who knows who they get to talk to. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I volunteer for them. Probably so when I got here, probably like 23 years ago is when I volunteer for them.
Oh, that's wild. I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And see, people don't realize is that when you're volunteering or you're working directly for the agency, about that full circle. And like you're saying, is that you got something out of it. And I can almost 100% guarantee that the older adult that you were helping in whatever capacity got something out of that. Because even going back to the conversation about the woman, you guys created that circle of friendship and social engagement, is I often use the phrase that social engagement isolation, actually isolation itself, is the number 2 cause of death in our communities. And that's due to families not living here, not staying connected, elder abuse, being isolated in the home, not knowing where to turn for resources. And so you guys creating that social network, that social engagement piece, is really what it's about. And so PAA has those services currently that do serve in that capacity to address the social isolation piece. So
Hmm.
kudos to
Yeah.
you guys for creating that circle
Yes.
years ago.
Oh my God, we love it. They love it. And they
Yeah.
have a great time because they get to talk, they play games, they get, a little bit of education.
And they
They
look forward to it.
they do.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
so look forward to it. Yeah, I love it. It really adds time to them being on this earth when they engage with other people outside of whoever lives with them.
Yeah. And you get, I mean, oftentimes too, is that we, as a society, for some reason, we are built on don't ask for help. That, oh, if I ask for help, I'm weak, or it's a weakness of mine for asking for help. But really, asking for help is a strength. And when you're in a circle of friends, I think it becomes a lot easier for people to be like, oh, I have a doctor's appointment coming up next week. I need to figure out how to get there, or I need to get to the grocery store, but my daughter, my daughter Viviana works every day and I don't want to ask her because it's just too much. And so when you have, then all of a sudden you've created that circle of friends, it's more like, hey, I'm heading to the store, or hey, I'll just take you. So, I mean, it really is a very, very important piece to have that social
Oh,
connection.
extremely. My mom went on vacation for like a week or so. And so I was left with my grandmother. So when my mom left, I realized how much support we have here
Yeah.
from the people that we have encountered throughout the years. And it was just, I was amazing because somebody came to see my grandmother every day. Like I went to see her every
Oh,
day, but
wonderful.
somebody came to visit every day.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So
Well,
yeah.
we know your mom is very well connected too, so she always does a great job to make sure everyone's taken care of.
Yes, she does. She does a great job. So your role at Peninsula Agency on Aging, you're the VP of Development,
Yeah.
and you also have a background in marketing. Tell me how you mesh the two.
So actually, so my degree from in Nebraska from College of St. Mary's is a degree in creative arts and communication. So I have always had the gift of the gab. I love talking to people, and so my first role out of college, I was a public relations manager, which kind of built that groundwork of communications, media, marketing, and I worked in the marketing department. So I'm one of those people that really just absorbs from other individuals in workspaces. And so, working in that marketing department, I was able to learn how to do graphic design, how to do photography, how to do website, how to do, I mean, it just the list goes on. And so, I was able to like grow this person now as a communications and marketing individual. I had a marketing business, a branding specifically. I helped people come up with, or organizations with their branding, with their messaging, with their logos, with their website, with their materials. And so I did that for a good 10 years of my life. Prior to that, being a mom and then going into the role at PAA. So, in my role currently as Vice President of Development, I do all of that. So, it's great that it
Mhm.
really, again, has become this circle in my life where it is graphic design, it is the marketing, it is the website, it is social media, it is communications, it's doing interviews, it's TV, it's donors, it's events, it's fundraising, it's it's a lot of pieces that I get to do, but it's all been, they're just layers that have been built through my life. So,
Yeah, but I think it's great because I've gone to several meetings in the community, and then I end up seeing you, which in my mind has nothing to do with aging, but it does. So tell us a little bit about other hats that you wear besides being the VP of Development.
well, you see me there because most of the time I'm trying to get people to understand that they need to advocate for themselves. So, you and I talked offline about this, but I think it's important, in my role that I show up and I'm in the spaces where older adults are, because oftentimes granted, we've been in the industry for 51 years, but I still see this probably on a monthly basis. Someone will come up to me and say, after I've spoken or they've met me, and oh, I didn't know you guys existed. Oh, I could have, a year ago when I was taking care of my mom, I really needed some help and I didn't know where to turn. And that breaks my heart because I know what we do and how well we are connected in the community with not just ourselves, but with other organizations. And so, when people tell me that I wish I had known, or I wish I knew that I could use you all, or that there was this service, it really does kind of break my heart. So I always want to make sure I'm in every room where older adults are at. So whether that be at a senior center, whether that's at a seminar, whether that's at a pop-up center, you name it, wherever older adults are, you can guarantee I'm going to try to be where they are at as well. Because again, I think as you continue to see the same face, the same message, the same branding, then all of a sudden it starts to click. So then when people do see me, I mean, I've been at the agency for 11 years, so you can imagine how much I've been
Mhm.
around.
Yeah.
But so when people start to see me, they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, Randy, she's with PAA. Oh, it's PAA. Oh, PAA is here. Or, I'm sure your mom, when she, because she, of course, works for our agency, is that I'm sure when she's out and she's doing community events and she gets tired of, where's Randy at? Have you seen Randy? Because people begin to know. So, and,
Right.
and that's why it's important for me to be in those spaces to share the message, to get people to understand that there are supports and services for them as they continue to age. And then on the other hand is talking to them about advocacy, because that's something that's really important to me, in my soul, is that people continue to know how to advocate, and B, the importance of advocating for themselves. And then a lot of times it's just having the conversation of how to advocate. Because I think there is a lot of hesitation on people's parts of, I don't know what to say, or I don't want to sound embarrassing, or I don't want to ask a stupid question. And because I will tell you a funny story, if I have a quick second, is that when I started at the agency, um, 11 years ago, our CEO had said to me, and I think I was only, I want to say I was maybe there 4 months, give or take. And he was like, hey, I'm going to need you to go up to Washington, D.C. for this legislative conference. And while you're there, I need you to also go and visit all of our congressmen and senators. And I'm like, I'm what you who I'm gonna go talk. No, 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 no. I'm not gonna go talk. And so I had built up this so much anxiety going up there, because I had no idea what I was supposed to do, what I was supposed to say. I wanted to come off, eloquent and sophisticated and with demure and all of that. And I'm standing at the doors of the offices, and I was there with another coworker, and I'm standing at the door of their office, and I'm like, no, you talk. No, 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 I'm not talking. No, you talk. No, no, you talk. And then after like the first and second time we were in there talking to them, you get to really understand they're you and I. It's talking
Hmm.
about what you and I are talking about is aging and why it's important and what we do, and asking them to make sure that they continue to support us in our role. And so it's kind of funny, because I use that story when I talk to people about advocating, to say, hey, look, you may think I'm like this professional at advocating, but I can guarantee you I am not. And then again, it's just about relationships. So trying to teach people to make that relationship and make that connection, and it's important.
Hmm. So you were nominated for the Senior Advocate 2025 Hero. Tell me a little
Yes.
bit about that, because that was
Yes.
that was just this year.
Yes. Is that, I don't even know at this point. It's hard to keep track of days and times and years. Yes. So our HR manager, Lynetta, had nominated me for this award through Senior Advocate. And they were looking essentially for people who are doing the advocacy work on behalf of older adults. And so then that just goes back to what we're talking about, is I'm out in the community doing these conversations. I lead the initiative that goes up to Richmond. So for the last 9 years, we were taking just a busload of Peninsula older adults and students from CMU up to Richmond to go advocate. Half a day we go and we meet with all of our delegates and our senators. We go into the chambers to kind of see how the House and Senate perform inside the chambers themselves. We have lunch. Oftentimes the governor will come, the attorney general will come. It's a pretty big deal, and it
Mhm.
gets people to see what advocacy looks like firsthand, especially up in Richmond. And then I had the honor of being asked this past year to lead the statewide Older Virginians Advocacy Day. And so what
Mhm.
that looked like was 200 plus older adults from across the state of Virginia that literally did come from all quadrants of Virginia to advocate on a specific day up in Richmond that we had deemed Older Virginians Advocacy Day. And it was 9 area agencies on aging that came. It was older adults, and it was just an incredible, I mean, standing back and just looking at the sea of these people, that, I mean, that is what I am truly proud of to see, is people in that mass coming and advocating for just a very specific population. Because again, that is such an overlooked population. I mean, we're talking right now, we're in current political times. How often do we see the older adults are talked about? I mean, other than, I think Medicaid is probably the big conversation, Social Security. But what about nutrition supports? What about transportation support? What about caregiver support? You don't hear a lot about these other supports that are really just as incredible and important as, of course, Medicaid and Social Security. So it's really a wonderful thing to see when people go and advocate specifically for that. So that award was about all of the work that I've been doing there.
That's awesome. I know for me personally, I think it was last year, my grandmother was going to a doctor and she just felt like he kept on saying, like, you're having this because you're getting old, because you're getting old. And she hates to hear that. She's like, I know I'm getting old, but I still want to be comfortable. You know, I don't want my knees to hurt. And then around that time, we found an organization where they have like they specialize just on giving health care to seniors. So they specify, and I thought that was like a really great experience. And then just being, because my mom and I both are the caretakers for my grandmother, but just being involved in the medical piece, I think we, not to say that we allow them to go by themselves, but I think at some point we have to, the younger generation, the caretakers, we have to accompany them to these appointments. My grandmother has the ability to call someone so she can get a ride and they can take her to the doctor's appointments, because she, you know, she's from New York and she is, you know, Miss Independent at 89 years old.
She's comfortable getting around. Yeah.
Yes. I've instructed her, I had to tell her, like, when it comes to doctor's appointments, like, I'm going with you, because a lot of the conversations that are taking place, they don't understand. And I think we really need to, I don't know how many people get involved in their medical life.
No, I know what you're saying. And you know, I always tell people, one of the great things about PAA is that if you do use our medical transportation for non-emergency medical appointments, which is what we offer, we do take your loved one with you, because it is just as important for the caregiver to go, because what your grandmother hears and what you hear might be 2 different things. The ageism that perpetuates itself in the meetings with the doctor as well. I mean, you don't know how many times I've been in spaces where I'm like, why are you talking to me? Talk to them. They're the patient. I'm just here to help. And, you know, oftentimes it's important too, because we as a caregiver want to make sure that we're there to advocate for our loved ones. So no, your doctor, you're not hearing them, or no, this is not what's happening. I use this example oftentimes is my mom and my dad. So my dad had surgery. Oh gosh, he's had multiple surgeries, but the one surgery he had was back in November of last year. Easy rotator cuff surgery. In and out, right? Simple surgery for the most part. And went home. And over the course of the next couple of days, his leg started getting really, really hot. Now, rotator cuff surgery is up here, upper body, not lower. So his leg's hurting. It's starting to get warm. A couple days into it, he has to ace wrap it up because it's hurting so bad. And my dad's like one of those manly man dads, like, nothing hurts me, just duct tape and move on kind of guy. And so it was 5 days later, they were going to go for a follow-up appointment with the surgeon. And they go into the appointment and the nurse comes in and she's getting everything prepped. And she's like, okay, you know, so how are you feeling? How's everything going? And what do you think his answer was?
Fine.
I'm fine. I'm good. And my mom's like, no, you are not. And this is why. So the nurse was like, well, is everything okay? And my mom's like, tell her about the pain in your legs. And the nurse was like, you have pain in your legs? Like on, a scale of 1 to, they started having the conversation. She immediately took him downstairs to go get an MRI and found that he had 4 blood clots in his leg
Wow.
and 12 in his lungs had developed from after this surgery. And I'm like, oh my. And again, that's why it's important to have someone with you, is to help advocate here and just be there for support. So,
Yeah.
and I will tell you, with the ageism that does perpetuate itself inside healthcare systems, I'm a national reframer, a national facilitator to reframe aging. And that whole concept is to try to change the social norm of how we look at older adults. And whether that's through language, whether that's through our justice system, making sure that it's a just society for all through equity. And then what it does is, because ageism is essentially the last ism that is accepted. I mean, think about
Mm.
racism, think about sexism, those are isms that are clearly a negative thing. We're going to say, for the most part, yes.
Mhm.
To the most of us, but ageism is one of those things that you still see. So think about like birthday cards, think about the commercials for the skin products to get rid of wrinkles. But in healthcare systems, we start to see it popping up incredibly more in appointments, where it is with your grandmother, where, oh, that's just normal part of aging, you'll be fine. Or the slow talking, the talking loud, the condon, the sweeties and the cuties, those types of languages. And so one of the things that I'm really excited to do is with Riverside Healthcare Systems is starting to go in, and actually it starts tomorrow, October 20th, is
Mhm.
doing ageism training for all of their medical residents.
Mm.
And so they want to really start addressing ageism within their healthcare system. And so I'm really excited to see how that also is going to start taking shape.
Yeah, that's great because I remember I did a class and it was about just different things that are happening in the community. So my group had to do a project on uh, housing and people that are homeless. And so out of the class, I learned that we call that population unhoused, right? So I
Right.
think it's our words are so important to be able to
Absolutely.
handle people because we don't want to offend people. So I think it's important to my co-host Maddie, she's not here today, but she's big about getting educated, right? So it doesn't matter how old we are, we have to continue to educate ourselves. And I love that you're doing that training, Randy, because it's so needed in so many platforms. I think about it also in kind of like in the school system, because there's a lot of grandparents that are raising
Yeah.
young
Yeah.
adults and
Yeah.
little people, and they feel like they're so disconnected from young people or how the homework is being done, and it's like their hands are crossed because they don't know what to do when it comes to academics. And I see it all the time just because of the field that I'm in. But I think it's awesome that you're doing that, and you could really go on tour and go to not just the health field, but just in other areas.
Well, I actually have. So funny you say education. So Hampton Public Schools had me come in and do a conversation with their school board. And what we started to do is small hanging fruit at first. And it's about reducing ageism within the school curriculum, because ageism really does start at a very, very young age. And it's subconsciously happening. So when they're on their devices and they see the commercials or they hear people talk about older adults, the way that society around them, parents talk about it, so ageism creeps in so ever slowly at 4, 5, 6 years old. If you
Mhm.
don't start addressing it before they get to 12, they're going to be, unfortunately, like you and I. We grew up in this and never was it a conversation. And so us using, oh, you're over the hill. I mean, we all thought that was really funny and really creative and
Mhm.
so cute. And you're so old. And oh, you look so great for your age. Those types of things. We grew up thinking that those were incredibly normal. But what that does is that really closes in around someone. And so the idea with the Reframe Aging Initiative is really kind of redrawing that frame. And so when at the very beginning of the show, when I had said to you that, we serve those that are 60 and older, if I said we serve seniors, we serve the elderly, immediately our mind subconsciously starts going, okay, white haired, old, crunched over, canes, glasses, hearing, our minds start to go with what a senior or an elderly person looks like. But we're serving people who are 60. So you and I are very similar in age. We're only a year apart. So if you and I think about 60 as like 12 years from 13, 14 years from now, do we see ourselves like that? And so when we talk about PAA, we want to make sure that we're not putting people in a box. So we use the term older adults, because if I said to you older adults, your mind can't go, oh, I can narrow in exactly on who she's talking about. It's just older people in general, right? So that's how the conversation starts. So with younger children, we started with the 100 days of school. So Hampton Public Schools, this last semester, got rid of 100 days of school. Now, people pushed back on me. They were really kind of upset about it. But what I brought to them was celebrate the 100 days of school differently, because what you're doing is you are teaching children then unintentionally to start making fun of older people. So again, I am guilty of this. I dressed my kids 10, 15, 20 years ago as a 100-year-old. And what did they have? Glasses, white hair, rollers, walker, cane, the whole 9 yards. So I recognize what I have done, but I want to also now start to reverse that. And so celebrate 100 days differently. Celebrate centenarians. Celebrate 100 days in math doing something a little bit different. If you do 100 days dressing up, use it as an opportunity to dress just like somebody that's an older adult. So dress like a Lily, dress like, Miss Nubia, dress like whoever. They all look different, right? As we look at them. And so, because the other thing too is that when they're doing the hearing aids, the glasses, the canes, they're using that as a device to make fun of, versus we know that those devices help with what? Independence. I was home this whole summer on medical leave, and I had to use a knee scooter in order to get around. If I didn't have that as a mobility device, I've now lost my independence.
Right.
And so these devices should be looked at as independence and as a really great tool to help with that independence, versus, oh, now I'm using a cane, now I'm using a walker type of thing. So with schools, I've started turning those wheels.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, because I see more of the celebration of aging. So like they have like grandparents lunch, or at the elementary schools, and so that's what I was going to ask you. What do we do instead of? Like, what are some activities that we could do?
So I gave them suggestions of, so Hampton specifically, I started with them because Hampton is connected to Hampton University, and they have an incredible gerontology program. So that's where the reason I pitched on to them. So with Hampton, the 100 days of school, I was trying to get my train of thought put together for the 100 days of school, that what they could do is they not the 100th day of school. Hold on a second. Let me reverse why. I was in a meeting with a school board member, and she was talking about, how excited she was running for school board. And I brought to her about the 100th day of school, and it got her thinking about, oh, you're absolutely right. What else should we do? And that's where this went. So because they're connected to the gerontology program, and because Hampton has the foster grandparents program, which is incredibly robust, older adults who go into the school systems to serve as mentors, to serve as companions, to serve in many different roles within the school systems. There are older adults already doing intergenerational work. So celebrate that. I guarantee when we go back to talking about storytelling, is that these foster grandparents have incredible stories, have incredible lives that nobody has ever uncovered. And so using that as a platform to do assemblies. So, we're going to do an intergenerational day, and we're going to bring some great speakers on stage so you can all hear about their life, ask questions. Children can do podcasts. They can write a book with an older adult. They can do a listening session with an older adult. There are so many different facets to how we can integrate older adults into the school systems. But those were my suggestions, on top of like math courses, learning to count to 100, doing different activities around 100, science, doing a different experiment that, deals with 100. There were so many different pieces to use, but that's really how, that intergenerational piece and the stories.
Yeah.
Because I think, one of the things that I've been in, 11 years is that this generation that is 80 plus, as they continue to phase out, we're going to start to lose some really incredible pieces of history. And so I think it's important for us as younger generations to capture their stories, to hear their stories, and to learn from them directly.
Let me tell you what I did. I had to take my grandmother to Washington, D.C., I think it was last year. So, it's 3 hours going, 3 hours coming. So I set my phone to record. So I recorded our entire conversation. So
Oh,
she's telling me stories about when she was young and how she got to this country. And I was like, oh my God, but I started recording her, just because I've told her many times, like, it's so, we're Colombian, right? So it's so important for me to know the struggles that you went through, because it wasn't easy for her to get here, for me to value my stay here, because I didn't have to go through the struggles that she had to. And it just makes me value her more. It makes me value my stay more. And then it allows me to tell that story to my children. So I do like, I don't know what I'm going to do with the footage, but I'm going to do something with it.
Yeah, and it's funny too. So with my dad, I told you I was adopted, but I did reconnect with my biological parents as I was an adult, and started to learn more about their lives. And even like still to this, day, I'll ask my dad, tell me something about your childhood that I wouldn't know. And, he had a horse, and I'm like, you had a horse? And, he came home from school every day, and he rode the horse. It was, it's one of those like little tidbits that you never knew unless you asked. I learned who his first true love was. It's just, even though those are just very minor things about stories, but it still creates that whole picture of an individual that you thought you knew, but really didn't know until you asked questions to fill them up further. And so, like with your grandmother, you probably knew who she was, had developed this idea of who she was, but hearing the stories, you probably appreciated her on a much bigger scale.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah,
It's like every time we talk, I learn something new about her. And I love it because she just has been through so much, So my grandmother, she has like a third grade education, and she bought an apartment in New York, and she paid it off in like 12 years. So she was doing like the envelope method.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
She was doing the envelope method. She never explained it to us what the envelope method was, but I just remember the envelopes. But as we got older, I asked her, what was that you were saying? So she was like, she was budgeting her money. Even for incidental, she had like $2 in that envelope. So she accounted for everything. And she was able to pay off her apartment in 13 years compared
that
to
is wild.
most
30
people
years. Yeah.
From here is 30 years.
That is crazy. Yeah, your Your grandmother's very sweet. Yes, I get to see her every so often.
Yes, she is a firecracker. It's in my DNA.
Somehow I
um,
think the apple doesn't fall far from your mother's tree too, but
yeah, so so just to talk about my mom. So my mom has been working for Peninsula Agency on Aging. So she started off as a intern one summer, and
right.
then I think you guys liked her, and she loved you
Loved
guys.
her. No, no, not
So
liked, loved her.
so she started working permanently, and she is like a brand new person, I have to tell you.
Oh, good.
And like you say, the full circle, she's gaining all this knowledge, not to hoard it, but to apply to her own life, and then to give it to other people in the
Right,
community, and give it to other people in Spanish on top of that, right?
right.
So my mom's greatest challenge has been technology.
Yes,
But I don't know if
yes.
you know this, but she started going to a Saturday computer class.
Oh,
And we told her she needs to stop saying, I hate computers.
well, you know what? I think just being excited that she's embracing technology, and whether she fully immerses herself into it, I mean, that's her choice. We obviously grew up in a much different time, but there are a lot of people who are completely disconnected from technology, and honestly, that is okay. I think learning how to navigate the world is going to be a bit harder if you don't know technology. So that's exciting to hear your mom's trying to learn it.
She is. I'm going to send you a picture, but my grandmother has an iPhone. So she will do video calling using a WhatsApp with her family in Colombia.
Exactly. Okay.
So she knows how to use that. She doesn't text. My mom does text. My mom does text. She pretty much can do everything.
Right.
Just when something goes wrong, she kind of freaks out. And then luckily, Peninsula Agency on Aging has a gentleman who's in charge of IT, and he speaks Spanish. So it's like
Yeah.
she is like, it was just kind of like, a perfect job for her, to be honest with
Yeah.
you.
Well, I
Um,
will say the community health workers department, there is, of course, Lily, and then there's Miss Clara and Christian, who is Korean, um,
and
is
he's young.
is wonderful because it's reaching a population that is really underserved, and that is English as a second language, not necessarily Spanish, but any population with English as a second language. And they have just taken that role and that department and have ran with it and have gone into so many different communities that I couldn't ever personally touch, and even a tip of an iceberg. And so
Mhm.
it's absolutely wonderful to see the work that they're doing and what they're producing out in the community.
Oh yeah, I love it. So we partner up with Peninsula Agency on Aging. We do a Tuesday pop-up in the city where I live. And so that's where majority of the Spanish speaking adults come. However, we have some that do not speak Spanish. They just they're from the community, and my mom has met them somewhere. So she doesn't care if they speak Spanish or not. She's inviting them. So then they love it because they want to learn Spanish too. So it has really grown massively. I think the magic number was like 20, and we've hit the 20 from day one. So it's just amazing. And also by my mom working there, I can tell her, like, make sure that you behave when you're in your 80s, because then I will be taking care of
She
her.
doesn't have to behave. She can be who she wants, how she wants, when she wants. She has earned
I,
that.
I know you advocate that, but
See, your mom, I'm sure, look, your mom's on here. She knows exactly what we're
yes,
talking about.
yes.
But I will say too, I've been to the pop-ups. We do active aging pop-ups around the community, and They do them every single day, if I'm not mistaken. Different parts of the peninsula area up to
Yes.
Williamsburg and everything, serving different populations that really need that social engagement piece. And I mean, I love the Spanish groups anyway, because we have quite a few different, like the Cafecito and then the pop-ups. And so, I've developed a love for the individuals who are in that group. And so I'll go to the pop-up centers and I have no idea what they're saying to me, but I will sit there and give them all love and give them all hugs, and let them just, talk and enjoy themselves. So I love that, the Tuesdays.
They love it. I'm telling you. And then they find one day they met at an actual restaurant, and they literally took
Oh, yeah.
half of the restaurant. And they were dancing, they had their hats on. I'm telling you, they are living their best life because of the support that PAA gives them, for sure.
And that is really truly why, if anybody ever sees me in person and even on this conversation, is how excited I get when we get to talk about older adults and what they're doing in the community, and how it really does just come down to mission and impact. And so I get to see our mission in full swing and the impact that we have. And so, that's, exciting to see as we continue in the future. I know our CEO is retiring after 41 years, but we're all very excited about what that's going to look like going forward. And again, it just, we're going to continue the mission and continue the forward growth.
Yeah, because it's so needed. Seniors are here. Are they living longer? What are the numbers?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it is, and please nobody ever quote me on this off the top of my head. I think women is 87 and a half average age, and men, I think it's 84, 83. And so thanks, Mark. They're still living a little bit longer. If you ever looked at trajectory, demographics, population, age wise, it's crazy to see where I think it was back in the 30s, 40s, average age was 40, 50. And then it went up to, 60, 70. And if you think about it, it's, all the technology, all the systems, all the supports that are in place to help people continue to age. So again, it's about accessing those and making sure that people know what's available and what they can utilize to help age.
Mm-hmm.
My hope is that, for Viviana, you and I at our age, that we get to live to at least to be 100. That's my goal.
Yes. I want to be 100 and I want to be active.
Yes.
I
I want to be of sound mind is what I'm wanting to be.
Definitely.
Oh, Mark's going for 200.
Oh, okay. A producer. Okay, Mark. That's
but
fine.
with a sound mind, see?
Definitely, because I definitely want to know what's going on so I can continue to tell people what to do. So that's important. So I just want to say hello to Lily. Lily Matos is my mom. She works for Peninsula Agency on Aging. She loves Randi to death. She's been asking me for a long time, call Randi so she could be on the show, whatever. But she stated on here that the Hispanic group from the pop-ups are the loudest. I guess when she does the cafecito, the office side knows that the Hispanic group is there because they're so rowdy.
Yes, but my office sits right next to them in the multi-purpose room, which is our meeting space, and they are in there for 4 hours, but they have the space. I mean, nobody's using it. So, be in there as long as you want. It's all about that connection, and they're creating such a great family circle. So they're playing music. They're getting a presentation. They're eating. They're talking. They're laughing.
They love it. So what does Randi do outside when she's not doing advocacy and marketing? Lily saying that something you work out.
No, do not listen to your mother.
That's what she said. She said you're a fisiculturista.
I know what she's saying. She likes to tell everybody that.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So it's funny when we talk about households and how they look differently. So I actually am a mother of 4 children. So I have a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old who's getting ready to graduate high school, and then I have a 6-year-old. And so we have a very interesting dynamic going on in our household where I have older children and this little younger child. But in my free time, so I by nature am an athlete, and my 17-year-old daughter is a track athlete and a really great track athlete. And so I have spent the last 10 years of my life driving across the entire country, taking her to track meets and being her biggest cheerleader. And she graduates this year, and I don't know what I'm going to do with my life after that. But on the other side of things is what Miss Lily is talking about is because I am an athlete by nature, I love working out and fitness. And so I've always wanted to compete in bodybuilding. And so last year for my 45th birthday, I set myself a goal and I got on stage to compete in a bodybuilding. And it's a bodybuilding body show. It's not like lifting weights. And so got on a show and pranced around in this tiny little bikini showing off all my hard work. And so that's what Lily is talking about, where the bodybuilding. So someday I'll get back to it, but right now I got to get my 17-year-old graduated and off to college.
That's awesome. I know a lady that does that, and I think she is in her 50s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I love I love the physical aspect of it, but I love the mental challenge. Challenge me and push me to every limit that I can possibly be pushed into. It is so incredibly satisfying. Like the week before my show, I literally sat on the gym floor just crying because I had finally made it to this goal.
Wow.
And how incredible. I mean, it's one of those you get to feel it with every fiber of your being. Now going on the stage, I told my coach I could do without all that. I don't want to do all that, but I will work myself to the competition. We can stop there.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Yeah, my mom's sister, she's a workout fanatic as well. She lives in Texas. She doesn't compete or anything like that, but she's just very health conscious. She works out all the time. And for a living, she still works as well. She does massages, she does, facials, body treatments. That's what she does. And I just think that we have to continue to move our bodies and our brains.
Be
I remember when
continuing
I
to be
first moved
active.
to
Yeah.
Virginia, I saw an adult. What's the term that I should be using, Randy?
Older adult is what we
I
say.
saw an older adult at the local community college, and she was with her little book bag with the wheels. And I was like, wow, like I want that to be me when I get older. I want to be able to continue to learn and experience newness. And I just think that as we get older, this is what I think, right? Even for my grandmother, just embrace what's coming, make the
Right,
best of it.
right. Yeah. And it's never too late either. It's always one of those things people think, oh, I didn't eat well, I'm overweight. Honestly, it's never too late to change your lifestyle. And I've given presentations on healthy, active aging. And, it could be something as simple as when you're watching TV. March your legs in place. When you're in a grocery store, you're standing in line, stand on one foot, practice balancing. There's so many different things that we can do. Not as extreme as bodybuilding, because that's a very extreme sport, but continuing to be active through our aging process, is only going to help us maintain that independence.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So our hour is up, unfortunately. But we would
We can
definitely
keep
love to
going.
bring you back so we can talk about our producer Mark. His plan is for Randy to maybe be the next CEO of PAA.
That's a great idea, Mark. Great idea.
Since you like to test the limits and all that stuff, hey, why not?
And he said I should meet Omasade.
Masade, who has a audio podcast. Yeah, so we'll connect you with her. So that's what we do here. We make connections. Mark makes connections because he knows a lot of people. So it's all about getting the word out. Because there are so many people that do not know Randy. So we need to make sure that Randy is known in other places because the work that you are doing is extremely important, and it goes beyond the stuff that you have done. Is much work to do. So of course, you're more than welcome to come here at any time. There's so many topics that we can talk about.
Yeah, anytime.
Yep.
Well,
But
I'm
I just want to
excited, and I
thank.
love sharing everything that the agency can do and what we can do to help in the community. So,
We love you.
Mr. Charles is on
Charles
here.
too. Yeah. I don't think he ever watches my show, but today he decides to chop. Okay.
Charles and I go way back too. Hey,
Yes.
Charles.
I'm gonna call Charles when this is over. But that's okay.
But yes,
Yes,
thank
we
you,
love Charles.
Viviana. I really appreciate being able to talk. And yeah, anytime, I mean, we can go further into talking about aging in place and what that looks like and anything, any
Yeah.
topic.
Yep. Yeah, because we are headed that way as well. So we want to be treated well when we get there as well. So we got to put the work in.
Oh, there. Mark says I need an aging show. Mark, I'm always pushing for that. So anytime.
Hey, you could definitely do that here. That is definitely an option. But thank you, Randy. The information that you gave us was amazing. It's definitely something. Every time we have a guest, I always learn something, and I, on purpose, repeat some of the information that I learned from the show during my week with conversations with other people. So I would definitely be sharing some of the information you gave us here today. It was amazing.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. And as I would want to leave last little thing, ask for help. If you see somebody that needs help, if you are a person who needs help, just reach out to one of the area agencies on aging and get the help that you need, because that's what we're there for. We want everybody to be able to age in place with that dignity, with that grace, and with that independence. So just please, reach out.
Yes. And so at the end of our show, we always do a poem, either by Maddie or one of her peers. But before we do the poem, I always mention on every show, Latinos, we contribute $4.1 trillion to the economy. And I know that there's a large percentage of our adults that are contributing to the number because we are collecting Social Security, and we are spending the Social Security money on our grandkids and our kids and paying utilities.
The economy.
Woo, always. The economy is part of the economy. So I always have to make sure I say that every show. I think I've been saying it for like 2 years now, so I can't miss that statement. But again, I hope you have an amazing week. And it was amazing having you on.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. You have a great week too.
Thank you so much. And Mark, we're ready for that poem.
My feels all day, well, since yesterday, so I'm just gonna read today. So click, click, pose. Look closely. Can you see the void beneath the surface? In the eyes, the empty spaces, loneliness, screaming, crying, losing hope, begging for someone to notice, barely hanging on. A smile. It's what happens right before the break. Before the beast tears off my chest, the constant battle with this demon who threatens to drown me whole. I try to loosen from his grip. I swim up to the surface, hoping to get to breathe. Pose. For a second, I try hard to forget how the weight of the world pulls me down. At night, I can't sleep. Nightmares on Elm Street. I stay awake thinking of ways to stay alive, yet I close my eyes. I lay in a postpartum state, so when the Grim Reaper finds me, his job is more than halfway done. I am done, but I survive. For some strange reason, I get to do it again. It's Groundhog's Day. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. They all feel the same. I feel the same exact pain. I cast a lifeline into the world in desperate mode. Click, click, pose. My brain unsteady, like an elephant walking a tightrope. Scattered puzzle pieces that can't seem to make a coherent thought. I think of Chesley, attorney, spokesperson, Miss USA, who had her shit together and still she killed herself. From the 29th floor, she jumped. Depression knows no gender, socioeconomic status. Hurt is hurt. Some can voice it better. Others get lost in the waves. Most days, I surf. It is on those better days I take selfies instead of asking for help. You never know what's been brewing when someone is in a dark place. So when you see those selfies, don't just click on the picture. Check on your strong friends.
Are just so impressed with them. Like I said, we've been with them for years. I will recommend and refer anyone to them. We stand by A+ academics. They're the best.
A+ tutorial really did help me with all my grades. They all went up when I came to this place. And I would say I recommend this school to everyone.
So it's a really good environment to be in, especially for me because it makes me look up to my parents.
If you have students that need academic help, A+ Academics is the place to be.
A+ Academics, what a great place to go for academics.
It's just a really great place to learn.